Hey, my name is Keenan Young, and the research analysis I conducted was for the fall 2016 Family Violence course. The article that I was given was Work Home Conflict and Domestic Violence, a Test of a Conceptual Model. It was written by Jennifer Van Buren-Trachtenberg and her colleagues for the Journal of Family Violence in the May 2009 edition. And the main research question that they were looking at is whether there is a correlation between work-home conflict and domestic violence. And work-home conflict was defined as the conflict between one's duties personally and professionally. So as we discussed in class, independent variables are suspected causes and dependent variables are suspected effects. So in relation to this study, one aspect of the independent variables was job satisfaction, gender roles, type of employment, and socioeconomic status, and that affected work-home conflict. And then in another aspect, work-home conflict affected domestic violence rates. There were three main hypotheses in this research. The first was that specific reports of the independent variables would result in greater work-home conflict. The second was that there would be a significant relationship between work-home conflict and domestic violence. And then the third was that the relationship between work-home conflict and domestic violence would be affected by individual scores on personal family factors. The data was collected through an online survey, which, as we discussed in class, is gathering data which can be directed at either victims or perpetrators of violence. It was all done anonymously, and 295 participants were surveyed altogether. They were recruited through email and flyers at a large New England university, and some of the others were also recruited through online message boards and employee labor unions. The questionnaires related to job satisfaction, domestic violence, social support, and other factors. Of the three hypotheses, none of them were fully supported. The second and third were partially supported, and the first was not supported at all. And in terms of ethical concerns, as we discussed in class, you want to minimize the harm done to the participants. And because this is a sensitive subject matter with domestic violence, the researchers provided mental health services for the participants to ensure that no emotional or mental harm was caused to them. As we discussed in class as well, sociologists focus on endogenous factors, which are factors that occur outside of the organism. In relation to this article, job satisfaction and socioeconomic status and gender roles would be endogenous factors because they are part of the environment that affects the participants, and as well as their professional life and how it affects their relationship with their intimate partner. And then, as we discussed in class, psychologists would focus on endogenous factors, which are factors that occur within the organism, and these, in relation to the article, would be specific mental disorders such as bipolar disorder or schizophrenia that could affect the rate of domestic violence within the participants. To gain a better understanding of this topic, I located another article entitled Violence in Police Families, Work-Family Spillover. This was by Lenore Boland Johnson and her colleagues and published in the Journal of Family Violence in February 2005. The major findings of this study were that burnout and stress from police work had a significant relationship to domestic violence, as well as certain personality types, such as authoritarian behaviors, also had a relation with higher rates of domestic violence. And then in comparison to the other article, there was significant correlations in both related to high levels of work-home conflict and high levels of domestic violence. In terms of policy implications, both of these articles could be used to kind of tell employers, especially, that mental health services are needed to ensure that employees are not burned out or have too much stress, and then take that home to their families. Additionally, if we were educated more about sociological factors such as traditional gender roles and socioeconomic statuses, we could kind of shift away from those more traditional views, which can relate to higher levels of domestic violence. And then if this work-home conflict would be reduced, the high likelihood of domestic violence could also be reduced as well. These are my references, and thank you very much.